Welcome to the channel and welcome to my first proper behind the scenes video for my short film I'll Listen. This will be a complete breakdown of how I made the short film and the shots and everything that goes into it. I know this video is a little long, but if you're interested, you're going to want to watch it all the way through and see everything that me and my brother had to go through to create these shots. I won't be going over every single shot. Some shots are pretty simple and pretty self-explanatory. I'm going over the ones that were significant to make. Before I start, there's a song that I've used for this channel before, and I'm sure you guys will recognize it. It sounds a little something like this. This song is actually a song that I introduced at the beginning of this year to introduce the new theming for my channel going forward. I was really stupid and used a song from a subscription-based service, meaning that if it expires or you don't pay for it anymore, you can't use it, and that is my favorite song for this channel that I've used. It fits perfectly and I absolutely love it. And it wasn't even my idea, it was a friend of mine. We were looking for songs to add to my channel and she picked that one and I absolutely loved it. So I got a subscription again for this short film, and as long as I have it active, I will keep using it. So back to that one. Okay, so starting with the first few scenes, I will also be talking about my gear that I've been using for the video, but instead of showing it all at once, I'm going to be going to when I use that gear, and I'll be talking about it per shot. So for the first sequence, the morning scene when my brother's in bed and stuff, it's pretty straightforward, just me holding my phone handheld with, panning around the room and getting up. Of course, I did get that transition. I asked him to throw the blanket over my camera so he can block the lens, and I can transition to him going downstairs. The majority of the short film was filmed handheld, just me holding my phone. Had to keep my hands very still to eliminate as much shake. I did film at 4K 60 frames per second, so I could slow down footage a little bit so I can eliminate some shake. But yeah, the majority was handheld. When I needed it, I used the gimbal. If you don't know what a gimbal is, I'll explain in a little bit. But yeah, the majority was handheld. Going into the first piece of gear that I used is an external lens. I used another lens. I didn't use the standard iPhone lens to make this video. The majority of it was filmed with a 58mm lens, also known as a tele lens, from a company called Moment. They make great lenses because what they do is that they sell you an iPhone case, and then that iPhone case can fit any lens that you buy from them in the future. So bought the case, bought the lens. The lens is great. There are some shots that I would not have been able to get without that lens, like the one of the close-up of my brother's eyes, or when he's using his phone. Without that lens, I would have to shove my phone directly up into his face, or on the phone. It wouldn't have been practical. But yeah, so the lens that you're looking at right now is the 58mm, and I'll show you the difference. And there you go. No 58mm. Really tightens the shot a little bit, and I wouldn't have been able to do the whole film without it. But yeah, I'm just gonna leave it off actually. Okay, so the breakfast scene was actually the most fast-paced part of the video, and probably the most time-consuming, because there were shots I had never done before. A lot of them are pretty self-explanatory. Like when my brother walks past the camera, I use his sleeve to block the lens and transition to me panning across the fridge and him taking out the orange juice. For when he throws the orange juice at the lens, I just sat there and I asked him to slide it. One of the more complicated shots was the bagel slicing one. That wasn't my idea. I got it from a filmmaker named Daniel Schiffer that I watch, and he had a bagel making scene, and he had that idea of grabbing the bagel with both hands out of the shot and then getting a knife and then just slicing it and letting go. That one took forever because the bagel was not cooperating. You're gonna hold the bagel like this with your hands up here so you don't see the hand, and you're gonna have the knife already in it. And what you're gonna do is basically let go of the bagel and do this so it looks like you're cutting it in half perfectly. Got it? Careful with the knife. I'm gonna get a focus and get the exposure and stuff.
It got stuck.
Yeah, let's try again.
You're not getting stuck.
There you go. Perfect. Wait, I think your finger was in the way. Yo, your finger was in the way. Oh my goodness. So what you're gonna do, I just realized something. You're gonna have your hands as high as possible. When you let it go, don't put your hand in front. Go like this, so you don't see your hand actually holding it, so it makes it look like you actually cut it. Ah, no. I think that was it. In the end, we obviously got it twice, because we needed to do it twice to show 2 different days and him wearing different shirts. The toaster scene, pretty self-explanatory. Just shove my phone into the toaster while it's unplugged. Please do not do it while it's plugged in. And then I just had him throw the bagels in there. Okay, so after the 2 breakfast scenes, we go into like the first like depressing scenes type thing. The coloring did change a little bit, not from the morning scenes, like kind of dimmed it a little bit, but not too obvious. But yeah, I just had my white lights on, and then while I was editing, added a bit of warmth to make it look like it was morning. We tried playing with the lights and adding like having them warm like manually, like change the color of my lights to yellow, but it was way too dark and like the footage was very grainy and noisy, so didn't end up using that. So we reshot it with all white lights and then adding the yellow tint in post. Once when my brother's downstairs and like the depressing scene starts, there you can see the dramatic color change. Everything is much darker and gloomy and stuff. Everything there is pretty self-explanatory. Just me panning down, getting close up to his eyes again. That's where I first got the first close-up shot of his eyes with that lens. Wait, we need to start over. Take off your wristband. It says Jesus on it. You're supposedly not. He's not in that phase yet where he does Jesus. I don't even know if the wristband shows another shots. I mean, check. No. But that one says Jesus too?
Yes.
Okay.
The same thing.
This is the only time I will ever say do not wear something that says Jesus on it, okay? This is just for video purposes. I think the most complicated shot of that sequence was when he slams the door. That one took a couple tries to get right because I started far back from another room. Him walking towards the door, slamming it, and I had to push into the doorknob and get the focus just right, all while handheld. I could have used the gimbal, but the problem is that lens is way too heavy for a gimbal. So I didn't end up using it. A gimbal is basically a stabilizer. I'll show you what it looks like later. I had to do it handheld, but ended up working very well because it adds some shake, adds some intensity to it. You don't really want all the shots to be super smooth, but yeah, that added some intensity to it. So the shot where my brother like ignores the Bible, that was actually his idea. I was gonna do another one. I was gonna have like him come into frame. His head would be in focus, and then the Bible would be out of focus. And then when he walks away from it, the Bible then comes in focus. We tried filming it, and it ended up being a terrible idea. And then we went with an idea he had, which is the one that you saw, and I really like that one. Since this is gonna cut directly from when you're closing the door, act like you just came from closing the door, and then you turn around. Go. and that's when I got the first close-up shot of his phone after when he's playing with the PS4. I basically had to push his bed forward, get behind him, and film from behind. It's not glamorous, okay? Like, I do not have fancy cranes or robots or anything, so that's how I had to do it. But it ended up working well. It was so hard to keep my hands steady because I'm like in a squatting position. It's raining outside. You can hear the thunder. Okay, this is gonna suck. This is the stupidest idea I've ever had. You ready? Go. Oh, I didn't tell you what to do. Okay, you're just gonna like hover your finger over the Bible app, like if you're deciding, and then you go into another app. Okay, ready? Does it look a little bit too confusing?
You know the Bible's there, right? The Bible's there.
Thank you for noticing that. Okay, move the Bible out of the frame. No, completely out. Like put it in, like on the side. Can I push the button a little more? Okay, so for the 3 a.m. scenes, I was using the 58 and panning with my hands while my brother's laying down on his phone and stuff. And he gets up again for the close-up of his phone. I had to get behind the couch. I had to get behind him, stand like on the back of the couch, squat again, and get a shot of him using the phone again. Go.
Hold on. I'm not ready.
Make sure you're focused. You're smiling. You're smiling. So go back to the spot that you were in. Wait, no, don't grab it yet. For the shot where he actually gets up and gets on his knees, there I had to use the gimbal. And here is my gimbal. So this is a DJI OM4. You attach your phone with this, like you put the magnetic clamp around the phone, and then you just magnetically attach it to this, and then you turn it on, and it'll balance your phone and keep everything stable. And the reason why I used it is because I tried to do it handheld and it didn't really work. I wanted that panning down shot while he's like dropping to his knees, and I basically had to hold the gimbal upside down. It would keep the phone upright, and then I'm just like craning my hand down, and it would keep the footage very stable. So for that, I did use the gimbal. For when he threw himself to the knees, we put a pillow there because obviously we're not gonna have him hurt himself. So I asked him to put a pillow there and then just throw himself as like not as hard as he can, but like really to sell that he's throwing himself. And then I just didn't show the pillow and stuff. And then for the close-up shots, again, I did use the gimbal to try to keep my hands as steady as possible. For the final sequences, which is okay, he wakes up, we repeated that shot again, and he goes to the park. There, did use a gimbal the entire time, but I did use a lens that I had to use for this shot, and it's a 1.33 anamorphic lens. And if you don't know what an anamorphic lens is, it's basically what they use at the movies. So like you've seen in movies when you're watching a movie and you have the black bars at the top and bottom of the screen. I wouldn't blame you if you think, why is the black bars at the top and bottom? Don't you lose footage at the top and bottom? If you're using this lens, you're not. What this lens does is it squeezes the frame to give you a much wider shot, so you're getting a lot more detail on your left and right, but it does squeeze it down, but it's still the full frame. So all you need to do is either get an app or on your editing software and unsqueeze it, so you're getting the full frame but just wider. So in order to make it wider, you gotta squeeze it, so you just gotta unsqueeze it. What I use to record, I don't use the standard camera app. I use Filmic Pro. Filmic Pro allows you to have control of your focus, your aperture. It gives you your white balance, shutter speed, frame rate, aspect ratio. So for when I was using the 58mm, there I had to like set the aspect ratio on my phone so I could see where I'm losing footage. So for those, I did lose footage at the top and bottom, but because I had to keep the aspect ratio consistent throughout the whole video. But this, you're getting the full frame, you're getting a wider shot, because for the ending I wanted like a freeing feeling, because like he's finally out of the house and like you want the widest shot possible, especially for the lake. So I use this. And the cool thing is that with this lens, I'm pretty sure you've seen in action movies or Michael Bay movies where you have like that light flare like across the screen. This has that on the lens, so whenever light hits it, it reflects a blue flare across the screen. You don't really see it in my video because there's not a lot of light in the video, but there are instances where the light bounces off and then you just see a blue streak across the screen, which looks really cool. This is what this is. I don't have behind the scenes footage of when I went to the park. It was really hot that day. My phone was already getting hot from recording in the sun, so I did not want to have to worry about two phones and stuff. Plus we were outside alone, and like me and my brother was in the video obviously, so he couldn't be like watching the phone, making sure no one like gets in the shot or takes it or anything. So I didn't want to have to worry about that, so I didn't record any behind the scenes footage, but I'll just be explaining. The one where he's walking, there I had to use the gimbal again. Well, the whole thing in the park was the gimbal. There I had the phone upside down focusing on the Bible like while he's walking and stuff. I couldn't have done that shot without a gimbal. It would have been way too shaky. And then panning shots when he's walking up, sits down, like I just have the camera still, and then like close-ups again, everything with the gimbal there on his smile, the Bible verse and stuff. And I'm done. Okay, so if you're pretty familiar with how a gimbal works, you would know that if you attach anything extra to the phone, the weight will be shifted to one side. You can't have any extra weight on one side. When you have a gimbal, you gotta balance it. When you have it off, you gotta make sure it's all steady. With this new one, since it's magnetic, every time you put it on, it'll have like a little ridge where you have to like follow the aligning and like click it, so you don't have to balance it. But if you're gonna attach anything extra, you have to buy things called counterweights, and this is what I bought also from Moment. It's these little three things. You can separate them to make them into 2s or 1s or 3s. It comes with 4, but I only use 3. They're 17 grams each, and since I was using a gimbal plus the anamorphic lens, that added weight. So I attached 3 17-gram weights to the side of the gimbal. It has like a little screw where you screw them in, and then I balance it like kind of like a seesaw. You gotta like play with it until like it's steady, and then you can use a lens with this one. In some cases you can't use the gimbal at all, like with the 58mm. It's way too heavy, it's too big. Like even with all 3, it won't work. Like I said, it comes with 4, but for the OM4, the 4th one doesn't fit. It like bumps into the gimbal, you can't use it, so you can only use 3. So that's pretty much it for the behind the scenes. I went through everything, and yeah, it was a lot of fun to make this short film. Hopefully I can make more short films in the future. That's the plan anyway, and it was a lot of fun making this. It took a long time to make, but it was well worth it. I had a lot of fun and people seem to enjoy it. I hope you enjoyed this video, the explanation, the breakdown of how I did these shots and like what I used and the gear that I used and stuff. Hope you guys enjoy. I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe. God bless. See you later.